तो दिवाली का दिन है और ये दोनों चिंटू और चिंकी अभी तक सो रहे हैं। चलो इन दोनों के साथ खेल खेला जाए, बहुत मजा आएगा। अब इन रॉकेट को इनके खटिए में बांधकर इन दोनों को आसमान में उड़ा दूंगा।
Oh, no.
रॉकेट को तो खटिए में बांध दिया, अब चलता हूँ आग लेकर आने। अरे पहले इस खटिए को बाहर तो ले चलूं।
Oh, no.
अब ऊपर जाकर चिड़ियों के साथ दिवाली मनाना चिंटू और चिंकी। ये लो। अरे बाबू तू ये क्या कर रहा है? चिंटू और चिंकी को ऊपर क्यों उड़ा रहा है? अरे मम्मी दूर ही रहो, पास मत आना, नहीं तो तुम भी उड़ जाओगी। अबे कमीना जल्दी से पानी डालकर बुझा इन रॉकेट को। अरे मम्मी देखो बहुत मजा आएगा। अगर इन दोनों को कुछ हो गया तो तुझे तुम्हारे पापा से बहुत पिटवाऊंगी।
Oh, no.
मम्मी देखो वो दोनों उड़ने लगे। अरे चिंटू और चिंकी जल्दी खटिए पर से कूदो। मम्मी देखो चिंटू और चिंकी कितना ऊपर चले गए। रुक कमीना कहीं का, रुक जा, आज तुझे बांध कर पीटूंगी और तुम्हारे पापा से भी पिटवाऊंगी। पहले पकड़ तो लो मुझे, उसके बाद पीटना। आओ आओ मम्मी, तुम मुझे नहीं पकड़ पाओगी। आज तुझे घर में भी नहीं घुसने दूंगी और खाना भी नहीं मिलेगा तुझे। क्या? अरे हट जा, कौन है? अरे हट जाना, मुझे सोने दे, कल दिवाली है, खूब पटाखे फोड़ूंगा। अरे हटना रे, मुझे सोने दे, कल दिवाली है, पटाखे फोड़ूंगा, बहुत मजा आएगा।
Oh, no.
मम्मी रसमलाई बहुत बढ़िया है। मजा आ रहा है खाकर, और खिलाओ ना। मम्मी मुझे भी रसमलाई खिलाओ ना। छी छी छी, ये क्या खिला दिया मम्मी? है मम्मी कहाँ है? अरे तोता तू हमारे खटिए पर क्या कर रहा है? चल भाग जा। हुई 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 हुई।
Oh, no.
अरे चिंकी उठो और देखो, हमारे घर में चिड़िया भी उड़ रही है। सोने दो। अरे चिंकी जल्दी उठो और देखो, आसपास कितना सुंदर नजारा है, तुम भी सोने नहीं देते हो। अरे हमारे घर का छत कहाँ गया? यहाँ तो सिर्फ आसमान दिखाई दे रहा है।
Oh, no.
मर गए। क्यों, क्या हुआ चिंकी? नीचे देखो, क्या है नीचे? मम्मी पापा बचाओ, अरे बचाओ रे कोई हमें, हम आसमान में उड़ रहे हैं। चिंकी देखो, किसी ने खटिए के पौए में रॉकेट बांधकर हमें उड़ाया है। ये जरूर उस पागल बाबू का ही काम होगा, मैं उसे छोड़ूंगी नहीं। बाबू अब तू मुझसे बच नहीं पाएगा।
Oh, no.
बचाओ! तुम दोनों ठीक तो हो? तुम्हें कुछ हुआ तो नहीं? मैं ठीक हूँ मम्मी, मैं भी ठीक हूँ। बाबू ने तुम दोनों को उड़ाया था, लेकिन बाबू कहाँ है? मैं उसे दौड़ाकर उधर ले गई थी, वो उधर पार्क में होगा। लेकिन तुम दोनों उसे कुछ करना मत, उसे सजा मैं दूंगी जब वो घर पे आएगा। चलो चिंकी उसे पकड़ते हैं। हाँ जल्दी चलो, आज उससे बदला लेकर रहेंगे। देखो चिंकी, वो रहा कमीना बाबू, चुपके से चलो उसे पकड़ते हैं। अब बोल कमीना, तेरे साथ क्या किया जाए? मुझे छोड़ दिया जाए।
Oh, no.
मुझे छोड़ दो चिंटू और चिंकी, अब मैं दोबारा ऐसा कभी नहीं करूँगा। जल्दी आग लगाओ चिंटू, ये बहुत ही बदमाश हो गया रहा है। इसे सबक सिखाना बहुत जरूरी है। ये ले पागल बाबू। मम्मी बचाओ। अब ऊपर जाकर चिड़ियों के साथ दिवाली मनाना। हमको उड़ाए थे ना, अब तुम उड़ो। चिंटू, हमने तो बाबू से अपना बदला ले लिया। अब चलो दिवाली के बहुत सारे पटाखे फोड़ते हैं और रॉकेट भी उड़ाते हैं।
To see. The elevator doors opened, revealing sleek floors and polished surfaces. As they walked down the hall, she noticed the subtle details. Framed photographs of a young girl, a red scarf draped over a chair, sunlit corners of an office that felt intimate, personal. Her stomach knotted. She stopped, staring at one photo in particular. The girl's face, soft and smiling. The same scarf, the same defiance she recognized in herself. "You're your daughter?" The words slipped out before she could stop them. His jaw tightened. She passed. This, he gestured at the scarf in the photograph. It belonged to her. That scarf, it's why I carried it all this time. I didn't think anyone else would understand. Her breath caught, and the suitcase in her hands suddenly felt sacred, a vessel of grief she hadn't imagined carrying yet now did. She remembered the first time she had felt it as a shield, a fragment of safety, and now it was mirrored, shared, weighted by loss that was not hers, yet somehow had entwined with her own. Time looped in her mind, the station, the rain, his silence, the whispered words. Every step she had taken, every hesitation, every glance, it had led here. And with the next turn of the hallway, she saw the office doors open, the nameplate catching the light. The very company she had applied to months ago, hoping to start over, hoping to survive. The man she had been watching, fearing, understanding, he owned it. There was no turning back. Her hands tightened around the suitcase, knuckles white, heart hammering. She inhaled deeply and stepped forward, walking into the room that would change everything. The doors closed behind her, and the world she had known, the lonely streets, the station, the rain, slipped into memory. She was no longer just a girl observing. She was a force moving into the center of a story far larger than she had imagined. The office windows framed the city like a storm trapped in glass. Rain still pattered against the panes, a softer echo of the station's first drizzle. But inside, everything felt electric, suspended. She stood at the threshold, the small suitcase at her side, the red scarf wrapped tightly around her neck, now more a talisman than a shield. He watched her, the lines of his face softened yet hardened by grief and memory. The photograph of his late daughter lay on the polished desk, the scarf beside it, its vibrant red transformed from mere fabric into history, into love and loss. "You carry it well," he said quietly, gesturing toward the suitcase. Not everyone could. Her hands trembled, the weight of the object heavier than leather, heavier than loss. She set it on the floor, opened it, and for the first time, allowed herself to see what it contained. Fragments of her own past, scraps of memory and survival, now mirrored against his grief. I can't take it," she whispered, voice breaking. "It's yours, not mine." He shook his head. "It isn't just mine. You understood it. That's why I needed you here. You remind me of her, of what I lost, and maybe of what I could have saved." Her breath caught. She had expected confrontation, choices, threats, but not this quiet, raw truth. The suitcase, once a burden, now felt like a bridge. She reached for the red scarf, touching it gently. She began, but the words faltered. She realized she had nothing to demand, nothing to claim. She had carried too much already. The gift, the loss, the survival, they weren't hers to trade anymore. He extended his hand, not to take, but to offer. And in that gesture, she understood. The emotional storm that had carried her through years of vigilance, solitude, and hardship was settling, leaving behind a clarity she had never known. She knelt, placing the scarf carefully into his hands, the suitcase closed, its weight lightened by shared understanding. The symbolic object had completed its arc. not returned, not claimed, but entrusted, honored, and released. Outside, the city blurred in the rain, but inside, she felt reborn, a quiet strength replacing every tremor and doubt. She had given, not taken. She had survived, not conquered. And yet, the world would never be the same. He said nothing more, only nodded, the recognition between them unspoken but absolute. She turned, stepping toward the door. The threshold, once a place of uncertainty, now marked the boundary between who she had been and who she would become. And as the door closed behind her, the storm lingering outside, a thought clung to her like mist. Not every stranger you help is meant to stay, but some leave you changed forever. She walked away, lighter than she had entered, carrying neither burden nor regret, only the echo of a connection that would haunt her in the softest, most persistent way. The city moved quietly around her, muffled by early morning mist and the soft echo of footsteps on wet pavement. She walked alone, her hands tucked into the pockets of her coat, shoulders squared, each step steady in a way that would have seemed impossible months ago. The suitcase, once heavy with memory and survival, had found its place in the office drawer, closed and bathed in the pale light of a winter sun. It rested there, silent, honored, and free from her grasp. She paused on the bridge overlooking the river, watching the water curve beneath the steel beams. Reflections shimmered and fractured in ripples, like the moments of her past she could no longer touch but would never forget. The red scarf, now folded neatly, a memory in fabric, reminded her of him, of loss, of understanding. A line drifted to her mind, soft as fog. Sometimes love is not romance, it's recognition. A child on the riverside laughed, tossing a small paper boat into the current. She smiled faintly, a private acknowledgement of innocence she had carried alone for too long. Around her, people hurried, immersed in lives she no longer feared to face, yet she remained distinct, separate in her quiet strength. She could have returned to the station, to the noise, to the familiar turmoil, but she didn't. She had survived it all, and that was enough. The memory of the stranger lingered like a ghost, his presence felt in the corners of the office, in the weight of the suitcase she had entrusted, in the echo of a gaze that understood her more than words ever could. She imagined him moving through the city, carrying his own losses, his own quiet reflections, and she felt no jealousy, only a recognition of shared solitude and human fragility. She continued walking, leaving the bridge behind, following streets that carried sunlight now through the drifting mist. Each step was deliberate, unburdened, and yet aware. The past was stitched into her, and the world would always remind her of it. She welcomed it, as one might welcome the cold after a storm. Sharp, awakening, necessary. And in that silence, in that solitary stride, a thought lingered. Not every memory we carry is ours to change, but some guide us toward who we are meant to become. She walked on, and the river kept moving, the city kept breathing, and she, quiet and alive, moved with it, neither lost nor fully found, yet entirely herself.